Good evening, Manoj. How are you?
I'm good, Mukund. How are you? Good evening.
How was your week?
Week has been very choppy, as the sign was. Markets have been choppy. Lost some at the start of the week and then gained quite a bit. Then again, lost a little bit, but the week was good. Choppy but good.
Yeah, I think staying out of this market for me has worked out very, very well.
I cannot, especially when markets give me these opportunities, I cannot stay out of the market. I have to be in. I may not trade much, but I will be in.
Yeah, no, I think the choppiness is hard to follow and do a perfect prediction on, right? So
Right,
if it's a trending market, it's very easy to figure out.
right,
Trending down, I have no problem. You know,
right,
all of the downtrend market, you can make good money. But
right.
this is where not why it goes up, why it goes and doesn't go down, and then very, very sentiment driven now, right? In a
Hmm.
sentiment driven market plus choppiness, it becomes very hard, right? The
Right,
many of the stocks that I follow have very good fundamentals and broken stocks. And a lot of the stocks that I'm tracking that are doing well have lousy fundamentals.
right.
You look at a company like IonQ, IONQ.
Hmm.
I don't even know why this company's stock is where it is right now. And on the flip side, you look at a company that stock is really doing badly, that has very good fundamentals. You're going, okay, I don't get this either. But anyway, last week, the week that
That's
just
the nature of the bear market.
yeah, the week that just wrapped up, we had two very, very good earnings. Uh,
Hmm.
well, and I say good, I mean companies that were high profile earnings. Netflix,
Right,
Tesla.
right,
Netflix shot up nearly 15%, 12 to
right,
15% post. So
right.
341 to 401. It closed Friday, yesterday at 401.
Hmm.
Combination of things, right? $6 billion in free cash flow for the year.
Right.
Raising prices on their top two tiers, $22 from $19 and going up even higher.
Hmm.
And, they actually added subscribers like nobody expected.
Absolutely. Yep. Especially after that password cracking.
Yeah, the password crackdown has resulted in a very good steep growth in users. And then on the
Right.
flip side, Tesla, I think I have no way to predict where the stock will go, but seems like it's
This
going to
is
go
this
down
is why
because
I don't trade Tesla. It's a good investment stock in case if you get it cheap, but I definitely don't trade Tesla. I don't.
Tesla is very
I have
hard
no
to
idea how it will react, how
Tesla
it
is
will
very hard
behave.
to trade also because nobody knows what he is thinking. And that seems
Absolutely.
to be the
Yeah.
reason for the stock going up or down. It's not based on fundamentals as well, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, Elon said this today, Elon said that today, and that's why it goes up or goes down. That's
Right.
just hard to trade, man. If you get it at a
Absolutely.
good price, you buy it, you keep it, and you just leave it aside. But, look at it realistically, Tesla is going to do, a significant amount of revenue for the year,
Hmm.
and they're going to slow down even further, right? So if you look at it for um, somewhere in 2020, let's say 2023 end, right? They're still going to end up doing about $80 billion in revenue, 80 to $85 billion in revenue.
Yeah.
GM is 130 billion in revenue. Their margins are similar, but Tesla is a 700 billion stock and GM is 130 billion stock, right?
What was the market discounting? I have no clue.
The growth is going to come, right? Tesla's growth is going to be dramatic in terms of EV, but overall their growth is slowing, right? It's about
That's the
8%.
thing. You see, I don't know whether any stock, any company can continue to deliver similar amount of growth for n number of years. That's not possible. At some point, it has to stall.
The stock has gone from a growth of 20% in Q1,
Right.
40% in Q2, 8% in Q3. I mean, it's a difficult stock, man. But there
Right.
are Tesla bulls. I'm not going to go down that path. So those are the two big earnings for the week. The stocks I was watching, ASML and TSM, just to get a sense for semiconductor, I mentioned last week, ASML is a Dutch company that provides semiconductor equipment, and they are expecting a flat next year because of the restrictions that the US has on China.
Hmm.
And so it's a good company, very strong performance, but flat sales growth. TSM is
Hmm.
saying they are seeing a drop and a flattening of the semiconductor curve. So it's likely that they're saying we are towards the end of the semiconductor bottom because there's cyclical market, right? And
Right.
during COVID, PCs, mobile phones just went up and to the right. And even though AI chips have gone up, the drop in mobile semiconductor requirements and PCs have just not been able to make up for the AI growth from NVIDIA. So those were the two big earnings for the week. Let's just quickly go to the markets. We had obviously good start and then nowhere but down. And
Right.
Friday's close was not good for me on S&P 500 and the QQQ. But let's start with the SPX and the futures S&P 500.
Right. So, I mean, there's no surprise that everyone is talking about just one thing this week, and that's basically 200 MA. Markets closed, especially SPS closed exactly under 200 MA, and this is typical of of any stock or any underlying for that matter. 200 MA is something where markets normally fluctuates quite a bit. It touched somewhere around here, then bounced, reversed from 20 and 50 MA, and then again we are breaking down of the 200 MA. My insight says if it had to do all that it had to do in terms of the bull rally, if there was a bull rally, it should have been able to cross past the 20 and 50 MA, and it should have been sustained. But that has not happened. It has not been able to cross past and then broken down. If we look at the 4-hour chart, this is what has happened. It has broken down of this key channel, which was holding for almost last couple of weeks. It broke down, and after this broke down, it also resulted into breakdown of the 200 MA as well. And now where are we? Right underneath, and chances are we are probably heading towards the lower end of the channel, which is supposedly the bull flag of the cup and handle sources that we're talking about.
And
Now
that's
here is
the 4,200 range, right?
Yes, somewhere around 4,200. Now here's a learning that I just glanced through when I was looking at gold chart, and there is a learning for our listeners as well. I'll go to a gold chart and draw similarity in terms of the cup and handle pattern that I have been talking about. Here is the monthly chart of gold. This cup, it was from, give me 1 second, I just can't see it. Yeah, it was from the start of 2011 to somewhere around 2020, 2021. And then it should have resulted into this bull flag, a kind of a handle, and it should have broken out. It did not break out and then fall again. It did not break out and then fall again. So what is happening is probably it takes a lot of time. Now I can maybe make another base kind of a scenario pattern here. This base has been formed.
I was going to say it looked more like looks more like a ranging pattern.
Absolutely. So on the one hand, there are many gold bugs who keep saying that the gold's days are over, and the so-called cup and handles pattern that we have been talking about for last 2 years is no more holding. But who knows? It might still be holding if you look at this particular rectangle that is showing up here. The reason I'm talking about gold here is because chances are even ES might be doing the same thing. What if this cup and this elongates for maybe in another year or so, kind of a thing, somewhere around next year, it starts, showing some kind of a breakout or consolidation and then starts breaking up. I don't know. It is just a possibility that I'm talking about. I really have no clue if this is what market wants to do. Given the scenario on the daily chart and the 4-hour chart, definitely there is no sign in place right now for the markets to start rallying up here again. Probably somewhere around here, we will see whether it stabilizes or not. But the flip side is it has broken down of 200 MA. It has broken down of the 4-hour bear flag. At the same time, it has given up on the demand zone. So I am not really bullish, not extremely bearish as well. I would look for covering my position because I'm carrying shorts on the ES. I will look for covering somewhere around 4,200 and then see from there whether it wants to hold up or whether it wants to go down further. Whether this channel, a bull flag kind of a thing, if it wants to hold up, or it wants to give down. So
my prediction for the year, S&P at 4,150.
I wouldn't indulge into the prediction thing because this doesn't gel with me. The moment I go for the bias, the prediction thing, it goes reverse. So I would just take it a day, a week in a time. That's it.
No, I still think that the markets are going to be bearish for a little bit. It's not going to go down dramatically, but S&P at least and QQQ. But okay, all right, that's where we are with S&P 500. Okay, how are we doing with Nasdaq?
Nasdaq. So if we compare Nasdaq to
less bearish
S&P or SPX, it's very different. I mean, the kind of fall that we have seen in SPX is not as prevalent in Nasdaq for obvious reason, because many tech stocks have been holding up.
There's still a lot of gap in the 500, the 200-day moving average.
Right, there is a lot of gap. It's quite visible. And apart from that, this gap, the gap that we have seen last time during that NVIDIA thing, that has still not been filled up. Whereas S&P has already filled up that gap, which was around 4,300. So we are
That
almost
tells
close
me
to filling
again
that gap if it
that
wants.
the big seven, the magnificent seven that
Right.
make up, they have still not gone down that much. If you look at SPY or SPX, the rest of them have gone down, but QQQ
Absolutely.
is mostly just the mix seven.
Absolutely, yeah. So that gives us a surprise question, as in how long will they keep holding? I mean, we can. So I indeed have made one index. Let me just go back to that thing and bring it back, and if I can talk about it, give me 1 second. Since you spoke about those Magnificent Seven, here is the chart of the Magnificent Seven. This is Magnificent Eight rather. It includes Amazon, Netflix, Tesla, and all those things. It has actually broken down of the channel which has been holding up for last 12 months. But the breakdown is not as severe. So this is actually, replicating the Nasdaq chart.
Yeah.
Exact replica of the Nasdaq chart.
And it's still very far from the 200-day moving average.
Absolutely, absolutely. So why Nasdaq is doing what it is doing? Because this Magnificent Seven is doing the same thing. So there is no reason for Nasdaq to fall unless this Magnificent Seven starts falling. We have seen Netflix falling and then recovering again. We have seen Tesla falling. We have seen Meta holding up. We have seen Microsoft holding up. We have seen Google holding up. So unless all of them start breaking down, we really can't see that Nasdaq as a benchmark index should be breaking down. So let's
and
see
also
how
we have earnings for most of those companies next week: Microsoft, Google, Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, how are we doing on the Dow Jones?
Yep, here it is. Very key scene here. On the verge of breaking down of this trend line, which it broke down, then rallied, and then again on the verge of breaking down and breakdown of the channel, which has been holding up for almost 10 months now. So whether it breaks down or no remains to be seen, but my gut says yes, it is on the verge of breaking down.
This one seems worse than even the S&P 500.
Absolutely. So Dow Jones and Russell,
IWM.
very, very bad chart. I mean, the sheer look at it says that, okay, I don't want to enter this particular stock or index or future. And it's quite visible. If you look at the weekly chart,
you look at the Russell 200, you look at, Russell 2000, even that is much, much weaker.
Far weaker. That's the weekly chart that we see.
Oh, wow.
It has broken every single support or trend line or channel that had to be, holding up to. Key trend line broken. Key channel broken. Demand zone almost on the verge of breaking down. So I don't know why anyone should actually be, holding on to small caps anymore. And we have been talking about for quite a few weeks now that as long as small caps keep getting beaten down, don't expect any meaningful rally in any of the indexes, any other index stocks, larger market. So I don't see Russell 2000 holding up anymore. It may result into some kind of a bounce because the fall has been sharper, but all the bounces are being sold into.
How are we doing on the 10-year yield and the dollar?
Sure. Let me bring that into picture now. Crude, gold.
Okay, we start with oil. Okay.
Here it is. 10-year. Wow. Last week we talked about a tweezer top. No tweezer top is holding up from bears from hitting the yields. So wow. It's closely following the channel and still keeps following. There is one thing that that brings me into that gives me some hint that it might result into some kind of a supply here, which is double top at 5.27. 5.27% from here, which is like 30 basis points. Huge from a bond market perspective, from equity market perspective, if it wants to go there.
Look at the RSI though. My God.
And look at how many
months. Room. That's the worst part. It still has room to go much higher.
Absolutely. So look at the monthly chart. Every single month, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight months of green candles on the yields. that speaks about the kind of trouble that we are going to see in the future.
It is also indicative, I think, to a certain extent, when you see the bond curve and the yield curve
Right.
being so difficult, that usually is a prediction of recession coming fairly soon, although we've been avoiding it so far.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And there are quite a few charts and analysis that we have seen recently that $400 billion worth of M2M, which is mark to market losses, all these banks are sitting on, out of which just $175 billion for Bank of America. How long can they keep window dressing to hide those things under the so-called MTF? I don't know. That's something where we have to someday maybe next quarter, next to next quarter, they have to show this up.
How's crude doing?
Okay.
Crude is going just up. Well, it seems to have a decent flat. Is it the weekly? Is it the daily? Okay.
That's a daily chart now.
Daily chart.
So it kind of almost broke down and so rallied. Ever since that Israel news came in, it started rallying again. And then it has been holding up.
Actually, there's one. Look at the day. What was it? 12th of August. Go 12th of October. Just go to 12th of October. That was the one, right? Or the next one. 13th.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
So this one was
that's a beautiful green candle followed by what seems like a bull flag.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Totally going to go higher.
Yep, it does look.
Aye. Okay. All right. And then you said you want to see if ES is mimicking gold.
Yeah, so I spoke about that. The ES mimicking gold was basically the cup and handlers pattern that I talked about.
Correct.
Yeah, so that was the main thing. This is dollar index on the verge of breaking down of this particular channel. Whether it breaks down or no, I doubt, because this is what even crude has been doing. This is what even yield has been doing. The kind of bearishness that we are seeing in the market, it's very difficult to predict anything in terms of the dollar, crude, and yield. We can still try to analyze how ES is doing, how stocks are doing, but analyzing something called dollar index, something called gold, something called crude, or something called yield, it's getting very difficult for people to people like me to analyze, because it's not even following daily or weekly chart, it's following the monthly chart, and if you have to trade based on monthly chart, you really cannot.
Yeah.
So maybe it wants to break down, but maybe it doesn't want to break down.
Yeah, interesting part is even the dollar index, although it looks like it's breaking down, it's showing almost like a pattern that shows like a flag.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just to give you context on the earnings next week, the big ones are, of course, Microsoft, Google, and Meta and Amazon, all four of them. Besides that, two of the other ones, Snap. Let's just quickly look at some of these stocks, starting with Microsoft, obviously. After a consolidation period, it seems like, from the last earnings, if you look at the last earnings,
that was on
a green candle just after the earnings, headed down, tried to make a recovery, found itself in the supply zone again, and then it's made its way all the way back, literally to the same price as it was during last earnings.
Right.
It's almost as if nothing has happened.
Nothing has happened in this entire 3 months. Nothing has happened. Exactly the same price.
Yeah. How are we doing on Snap? The reason why I ask you is because there was some information on Snap saying that the number of users, active DAU, was much higher than what people. It was a rumor, I think, 445 million versus the 420 expected. And they found, you look at the last few days, good green candle followed by almost looking like a pennant flag.
Yep. And this looks like a head and shoulders pattern for me.
That's the right shoulder. And then that's the left shoulder. But it seems like this is where it is, if you look at the last few days, look at the green candle on October 15th, 18th, something like that, October 16th.
Yep.
And then a couple of days of pegs. I still don't know how to read this. I'm going to wait for the earnings. My suspicion is it's going to rally up, given that they are expecting, the stock has just been beaten down like crazy, even though they're doing $4 billion in top line. But of course, not
profitable. Is the company profitable?
Not profitable, not growing very quickly, but now their growth has turned. if the growth turns. But overall, what I'm worried about, the ad market is not very strong. All of the other companies, including Roku and the Trade Desk, TDD, are all struggling. Right? I don't know why Snap should do well when all of them are struggling. TTD.
It has broken down.
It's going to break down further. I won't be surprised if it goes to 200 moving average. What do you think of TTD?
It's definitely headed towards 200 MA. Definitely. There is no doubt about it. 200 MA, and I don't know if it would hold. So this is probably a demand zone as well. So somewhere around 66, 67. It should show some stability. If it doesn't, then further towards maybe 54.
So this was one of the stocks that you wanted to talk about. One of the two stocks that I think you want to talk about was Morgan Stanley and Roku. Do you want to go through those really quickly?
Okay, so we spoke about, I think we spoke about on the call, but I have been tweeting about Roku for almost 3-4 months now. Once I spoke about this stock when it was somewhere around here, I said that, if it is not able to survive across this supply zone, then we have trouble. And this is what it happened. It resulted into some slower grind lower towards 2850 MA, bounced again faced resistance in the supply zone, and then sold off big time. And now it has broken down of two things. One, demand zone. Second, the channel, which has been holding up for a very long time, almost 1.5, almost more than 1 year.
Yeah.
So my gut says that it's headed towards the new lows, which has been formed somewhere around October of last year, December of last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if the stock goes all the way towards the lower sub 40s.
Yeah, if you remember last time, you look at the earnings date last week and then look at the beautiful candle after the earnings date. That was a strong power earnings gap.
Yeah.
Right? Just look at the day after that. And then it just, a couple of days after that, it went up a little bit higher, but just completely broke down after that.
Yep.
Right? It not only filled the gap, it's like way down. Okay, Morgan Stanley is the other one. And I've got one, which is Remitly, but we'll go to that after we talk about Morgan Stanley. Wow, this is gone.
Gone.
This is gone.
Broke on a very key important trend line. So we
This
can
is
call
going
it a
to
triangle.
this is going to 65, man.
Yes.
This is easily going to the 60.
I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down all the way towards 55.
You think it's going to go to 55?
Yes.
Or that's the supply zone?
Demand zone.
Yeah, there's the demand zone. Sorry.
Yes.
Wow.
So it has broken down of the 200 MA of the weekly, not even daily, and key trend line breakdown. So
how was their earnings?
I'm sorry.
How was their earnings?
Earnings for last week, right?
Yeah. How was earnings?
I didn't track earnings much. So earnings breakdown. This was earnings gap up, I think.
Earnings were in line. So they were reported $38 a share on revenue of 13.27 billion versus an estimate of 13. So they did okay on earnings.
Right.
They had a 7 cent.
There was some surprise, 5% surprise on the EPS and some
after that they just took an absolute beating.
Absolutely, yeah.
After earnings, they just took a beating.
And it's not just
okay,
in fact, if you look at GS, which is Goldman Sachs, even GS sold off after the earnings. That day, it was here. It opened gap up, and then after that, continuously it started falling down. So none of the banks, I mean, even if the banks have been reporting good earnings, the stocks have not been holding up. Whether you talk about JPM as well, same thing.
Yeah, all of them seem to have been struggling.
Look at this particular gap up. This gap up was on the earnings day. And then what it created was inverted hammer and then continuously falling down since then. It is sitting at exactly at 200 MA now. So I wouldn't be surprised if it breaks down to 200 MA as well this time.
Manoj, the last one I want to convert is Remitly. RELY is the ticker symbol. Higher highs doing very well, but it's still okay. I like the stock. After last earnings, it has done very, very well. I've been following it for quite a bit of time, but it's still, if you look at it, it's still in a very good place, but executing well. I think we'll have good earnings again coming up in a couple of weeks or so, but forming a nice consistent pattern. I like this stock quite a bit.
Can I add my view?
Yeah.
Okay. Two things which is giving me a red signal. One, the evening star. Weekly evening star, that's not a good sign. This is weekly evening star exactly at the channel resistance. One. Second, While the stock has been making higher highs, RSI has been not making higher highs, which is a negative divergence. So these two things are a sign that I don't want to buy here. It doesn't mean that I want to sell here, but I definitely do not want to buy here. So I would be cautious from the stock based on the weekly chart. Daily chart doesn't give me any clear picture as such, apart from just following rallying from all the 20-day mean reversions. So whether it wants to buy a rally again from here, I don't know. But the weekly does give me the red flag that, hey, be careful.
Got it. Excellent. Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Please subscribe. Please follow us. Comment. And Manoj always follows up on all the comments. I'll talk to you next week, Manoj. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Take care.